Coming up on Network Africa. Police in Zanzibar's main opposition candidate arrested while voting in the general elections. At least 21 people die in unrest over Guinea's disputed election. Plus, 2 university students in Kenya charged with hacking into a local bank and stealing millions of shillings. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin today in East Africa, where the main opposition party in Zanzibar says its presidential flag bearer has been arrested. The party, ACT Wazalendo, says Maalim Sharif was arrested this morning as the semi-autonomous island began early voting in the general elections. Now, he was reportedly arrested while trying to cast his vote. Early voting is designated for officials from the Zanzibar Electoral Commission, returning officers and security personnel. Mr. Saif has been opposed to the amendment that introduced early voting, claiming it would give room for rigging and malpractices, allegations that are strongly denied by the Electoral Commission. Meanwhile, Tanzania's head of police, Simon Siro, has denied reports that police officers shot dead 3 people on Monday night in one of Zanzibar's island. The semi-autonomous region is due to hold elections on Wednesday, although early voting has started for electoral officials and the police. Zanzibar has a history of contested polls in the past. Now, the opposition had claimed that 3 people were killed in Pemba Island and several others injured as police used live ammunition to disperse a crowd. But Mr. Siro says that the police only arrested 42 youths in connection to the violence in Pemba. Well, still keeping our eyes in Tanzania. In the meantime, there are fears of volatility on the tourism-dependent archipelago of Zanzibar, which has been battered by coronavirus restrictions. Let's take a look.
In Zanzibar's World Heritage Site, Stone Town, curio trader Caesar Jackson is hoping for 2 things from Wednesday's election: a peaceful aftermath and the return of tourists.
Our business depends on the tourism industry, so we're glad that if after election there are no fighting, we'll be happy that we'll have some tourists to continue our business. We'll be glad, happy.
Those wishes are for good reason. The semi-autonomous region and mainland Tanzania are both holding elections for president, lawmakers and local government. But Zanzibar was rocked by post-election violence in 2001, resulting in the deaths of more than 35 people. In the run-up to this poll, Zanzibar's opposition parties say their campaigns have been disrupted and candidates disqualified. The campaign manager for the opposition, ACT Wazalendo Party, said on Sunday, October the 25th, that he had been seized and threatened by armed men while a parliamentary candidate was still missing. The government has previously denied clamping down on dissent. Roland Ebole is Amnesty International's Tanzania researcher.
There is disquiet. There is a heavy contingent of, anti-riot police and military that has been deployed to Zanzibar, especially Pemba. And so one thing that I know is that there is tension. So I hope that things go well, but from the look of things is that there is tension that is building up.
Final rallies have been held, and Dr. Hussein Ali Munyi, candidate for the ruling CCM party, has appealed for peace. But the volatile election is being held against the backdrop of economic strain caused by the impact of global lockdowns on Zanzibar's tourism sector, which provides 80% of the region's foreign revenue and is the biggest private sector employer.
At least 21 people are now thought to have died in the unrest that has followed Guinea's disputed election earlier this month. Clashes between opposition supporters and security forces continued over the weekend when the Electoral Commission confirmed President Alpha Conde's controversial third term in office. The opposition, which has declared itself the victor, says Mr. Conde broke the law when he changed the constitution in March to allow him to run again. Now, the United Nations and the African Union have also sent mediators to Guinea to try to negotiate a solution. Well, back here in Nigeria, the judicial panel of inquiry set up by the Lagos State government to look into police brutality by the disbanded SARS has concluded its first sitting today, following the swearing-in of the youth representatives Renu Odulala, Temitope Majakodumi and Lucas Koyejo, representing the Human Rights Commission. Today's session began with the testimony of the first petitioner, Okoli Aguwu. The 9-man panel is expected to listen to and take evidence from other victims and their families on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays over the next 6 months, after which the panel will determine whether any victim or their dependents are entitled to compensation and the amount of compensation payable. The panel has the powers to make recommendations to government on how to ensure that the police and all security agencies never abuse the rights of citizens again. Still here in Nigeria, one person has reportedly died in an attempt by some youths to raid the headquarters of the Nigerian Customs Services in Adamawa and Taraba State. The victim is among some of the people who broke into the armory in an attempt to cart away arms and ammunition, but were engaged by security agents, resulting in the death of one of them.
Despite the curfew imposed by the Adamawa state government, that has not stopped the looting spree across warehouses in the state. The looters turned out in their numbers, targeting the federal government warehouses, the Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, UNICEF store, carting away various items including drains, hospital equipment and air conditioners. Some officials of the affected agencies react to the lootings.
Our warehouses were looted, tractors were taken away, and all the commodity associations in Adamawa State have suffered. Right from Rifan, Nekas, Man, all the commodity associations, all our warehouses were looted.
The controller of customs in Adamawa and Taraba states, while assessing the extent of damage, tells Channels Television that one life was lost while another got wounded and is in hospital receiving medical attention.
We tried to act with caution. Unfortunately, I know there was a loss of life and one is in the hospital, not of the customs, but the hoodlums. And that occurred as they were about looting our armory, that we can lay down our lives to protect the armory.
Meanwhile, Governor Umaru Fintiri has warned residents that indefinite curfew imposed on the state has not been relaxed. He is therefore asking security agencies to restore peace and ensure strict adherence to law and order, warning that further breach would not be tolerated.
Well, Cameroon's President Paul Biya has condemned the killing of 7 children in a mass shooting at a private school in the Anglophone region. The president termed Saturday's violence as a barbaric and cowardly crime against innocent children. He adds that he has instructed security agencies to ensure that the perpetrators of these despicable acts are apprehended and brought to justice. Now, this comes as the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urges the authorities to investigate the attack and ensure those responsible are held accountable. Well, 2 university students in Kenya have been charged with hacking into a local bank and stealing millions. The students at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology are accused of stealing about 24 million Kenyan shillings and attempting to move an additional 190 million Kenyan shillings from NCBA Bank. The alleged offences were committed last month, but both men have denied the charges. Well, let's get more on this story from a Kenyan journalist joining us now from Nairobi, Cyrus Ombati. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Tell us, what more can you say about this alleged bank hacking?
Good afternoon. The issue of the bank hacking, which the 2 students have been charged in court with hacking a national bank here, is called an NSBA. It's not something new because the bank itself has been affected in the past. In this incident, it's whereby the bank had experienced some outage last month, whereby customers or the bank itself lost millions of shillings. I'm told around 200 million, because it uses some 2 types of softwares, which whenever one goes off, the other one takes over. But this time around, they realized both of them were off. So in this case, they are saying that the students. There are IT students at the local university called Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. They are the ones who realized there was a problem, apparently. And they alerted the bank. But then they found themselves now in trouble. The thing is that the bank seemed to have been attacked then, because they were struggling. Even bank customers were complaining then. They are saying they were unable to withdraw money. They were able to transact. It was a problem which actually took almost a week to address. Up to now, I don't think they have managed to address the root source of the problem.
Yeah, now we understand that the 2 men have pleaded not guilty. How long will it take the courts to determine their fate, and what punishment are they likely to face if they're found guilty?
They may be jailed between 7 to 12 years, depending on the nature of the charge. But then now it depends on how they defend themselves. Even if it's a day, it's not an easy thing to be if you are jailed, because you see, in any case, they were accused of stealing 24 million shillings, Kenyan shillings. That's around $200,000 US, which basically, I don't know whether the bank or the prosecution has a case to answer, because you see the incident happened at the weekend. That's when they arrested at the weekend. I don't know whether they have managed to investigate and really confirm whether they are the ones who are behind the so-called hacking. Such kind of cases may take time to be concluded, because you see, the students may want to put up a strong defense against their case, and this may prolong the whole process in terms of a conclusion. Because you see, even by yesterday when they were pleading not guilty to the charges, they were saying that they were whistleblowers. You see, now the magistrate has to come and determine on whether whatever they are saying is true and what next. It will take time to conclude. It may take a year or so, depending on how both prosecution and the defense behave in the process of prosecution.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Kenyan journalist Cyrus Ombati, for giving us update on that story. Still ahead on Network Africa. Police in the Netherlands arrest a man suspected of having been involved in the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. Please stay with us for more details. Welcome back to the program. The Democratic Republic of Congo's army has killed 27 Rwandan and Burundian rebels in a volatile eastern region. That's according to reports from Rwandan news agency. The report claims that DR Congo Army had targeted Burundian rebel group Red Tabara and the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, both active in the eastern region. DR Congo's relations with its eastern neighbors, Rwanda and Burundi, are quite complicated by the presence of both refugees and armed rebel groups inside its mineral-rich eastern territories. All three countries have suffered from multiple conflicts over the past 30 years. Now, a court in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa, has sentenced 5 people to between 5 years and life in prison over a grenade explosion at a rally attended by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in June 2018. Authorities had previously said the explosion was aimed at killing Mr. Abiy, who had taken office about 2 months earlier. 2 people were killed in that blast at the rally attended by thousands of people in the capital. The Prime Minister was unharmed and was whisked away immediately after the blast. Now, former members of the Central African Republic's PK5, the Muslim Seleka rebel group, have symbolically handed over their weapons to the government. This was during a launching ceremony for the 4th phase of the Community Violence Reduction Program in Bangui.
In a symbolic ceremony, 14 former self-defense groups of PK5 and members of the community of the 3rd arrondissement surrendered a total of 14 weapons of war, a homemade weapon, 4 rockets and shells, and 104 ammunitions. The region had long been subjected to the action of armed groups that present themselves under the name of self-defense groups.
We are all delighted today to see our brothers and sisters of PK5 taking the initiative to come voluntarily to hand over their arms and thus definitively turn the page on community-based violence.
According to PK5 spokesperson Muhammad Rahama, peace is returning to the Central African Republic.
We are now stopping the firing of weapons. We believe in it. We want peace to return to the Central African Republic.
The United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, through its program to reduce community violence known as CVR, assisted in the pacification of PK5, a predominantly Muslim neighborhood of Bangui.
Police in the Netherlands have arrested a man suspected of having been involved in the 1994 genocide in Rwanda. The 71-year-old, a former bank clerk and pharmacy owner from the capital Kigali, is accused of drawing up a list of Tutsis to be killed. He is also said to have been involved in other attacks on Tutsi civilians. The man claimed asylum in the Netherlands in the year 2000, but Rwanda has requested his extradition. Around 800,000 people lost their lives during the 100-day genocide in 1994. UN peacekeeping chief Jean-Pierre Lacroix says that despite the continued rapprochement between the Sudan and South Sudan, the peace process has made little progress in Abyei. While briefing the UN Security Council via video link, Mr. Lacroix said the only major developments at the local level were the appointments by Juba and Khartoum of their respective chief administrators for Abyei area.
In a positive development, the Sudan and South Sudan have broached their intention to relaunch the political process, with senior officials from South Sudan traveling to Khartoum to meet with Sudanese authorities to discuss the final status of Abyei and border areas. However, despite this continued rapprochement between the Sudan and South Sudan, the peace process has made little progress in Abyei. The general security situation in Abyei during the reporting period remained volatile, with 4 attacks against UNISFA personnel being of particular concern, and 4 instances of intercommunal violence, including armed attacks on villages.
The African Union has indicated its intention to convene the Joint Border Commission soon, and has encouraged both countries to resume high-level meetings such as the Joint Security Commission and the Joint Political and Security Mechanism. Authorities in both countries are confident that all outstanding bilateral issues between their countries, including Abyei and resolution of the situation in South Kordofan and the Blue Nile states, will benefit from the friendly relationships and the mutual trust they are now enjoying.
We call on the mission to further improve civilian protection, protect the area from incursions by unauthorized armed elements, ensure security, and stand in an equal distance from all communities in the area.
Well, getting through the busy streets of Cairo, Egypt's capital, is now a lot easier as Egyptians can now run their small errands on scooters. This development is thanks to Rabbit, a new electric scooter application. Now let's take a look.
Tariq Saif al-Nazir is no stranger to the typically congested streets of the Egyptian capital. But a new app offering electric scooters for rent has helped him navigate traffic more easily. Founded in 2019, the app allows users to rent a scooter from several pickup and drop-off locations across Cairo, and also offers the scan and go method for ease of access. Users have mobilized the scooters to run quick errands, shortening the time it would usually take and allowing them to whiz through Cairo's nooks and crannies.
The best thing about this scooter is that it allows you to get around and see parts of the city that you might have never seen before.
Rabbit is a clean tech micro-mobility company created to provide Egyptian commuters with eco-friendly alternatives to short-distance transportation. By downloading the app, users can scan codes to unlock scooters and drop them off at another location when they are done. Founder of Rabbit, Mohammed Al-Manzouri, says the company was created with the goal of introducing electric vehicles to the market.
The vehicle we've chosen to launch with is the electric scooter. We found it to be an easy way for people to get around. It's fun, it's enjoyable, and environmentally friendly.
Competition in Egypt's ride-hailing and tech-enabled transport market has been heating up for years, as rivals from global giant Uber to smaller local firms vie for a slice of Middle East's largest market. Taxis, minibuses, tuk-tuks, and motorbikes are other transport options, shuttling passengers and deliveries through crowded, chaotic streets.
And that's how we end the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Adegoke.